All right. So we are actually live. No takebacks now. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
All right. Now, Duke is attempting to come in, but we've just kind of pushed him to the side. And so, that's it. We're just replacing him. So I've got none other than State Rep Danny McCormick. Danny, are you District 1 or what district are you in?
District 1, that's correct.
Okay, want to make sure I had that right. I did my pre-show notes, but I'm kind of scatterbrained this evening. So Mr. Lowry will be on in a second. As a matter of fact, let's see if we can go ahead and get him on. Hold on here. Let's see. I think I had this set up. Let's see. All right, now I got Duke. Let me get Danny back on over here. All right, there you are, Danny. Duke, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear. I was hopeful that I was going to be able to just tap out and y'all were going to solve all the problems and I could just watch like everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Danny and I were in negotiations, salary negotiations, and benefits, and all that sort of thing. So we were about to kind of just push you to the side.
Dookie actually told me that Rex told me that they were going to pay me double what you make.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a minute now, pay. I'm missing something. I need to know the details on this.
It's that hot and math. Zero times two is still zero. So anyway, all right, we'll give everybody a few minutes to join in. We got I don't know, half a dozen or more people that have joined us already. Hello, Christopher James Norris. Hello, Cassie Rogers. Good to see both of y'all. I'll put a few little comments up here. So Duke, I didn't know if you were going to make it in time, so I went ahead and brought Danny on. Obviously,
Yeah,
I figure we'll sit here and
and I
chit
will
chat
tell
for a few
y'all,
minutes.
Blake is messaging me, and he had a little bit of a tech difficulty as well, same as me. I don't know what it is. Maybe Zuckerberg's messing with us. But hey, he's going to be in a second. I emailed it to him, so we're going to
All
be able
right.
to have a really great discussion here shortly.
Well, and as a matter of fact, he's in the green room. Let's bring him on and see how his tech difficulties are. Hello, Mr. Miguez. Can you hear
Y'all hear me?
us? All right. Yeah,
Everything
we
sound
can hear you.
okay?
Sound pretty good.
Yeah, I presume us having tech difficulties tonight is better than y'all having difficulties passing legislation down there because it seems like we don't have problems with that anymore, right?
No, we got a good governor these days who's his conservative values match the conservative values of our state. So we're in really good shape right now. Every one of the crime bills passed. I mean, all his entire package, and some of those are related to gun rights. So we're very excited.
Well, I got to say, this
You
is
know that
like a world speed record because it seems like y'all were just talking about the crime legislation and the gun rights stuff, and then bam, it's signed.
yeah, the
Well, we worked
atmosphere
very
in
good.
Baton Rouge too has changed so much. It's really pleasant walking into that building. We were down there when the governor signed all the bills into law, he was very personable and just welcomed everybody. And it was just it felt like a completely different place than it has been in the past.
Excellent. So I guess let's see. Do we want to do a countdown tonight? You want to just get straight into it? Any thoughts on
I
your end how you want to handle it?
let's get straight into it. These guys are rip roaring ready to go, and it's going to prevent us from being able to put it out there a little bit. But hey, having a
That's
good
right.
discussion, and that's most important. And I think people will follow up on it later. They'll catch up to it.
Oh, I
So
think so.
yeah, so look right out of the gate. I want to know which one of you two cats had the better bill on constitutional carry. Come on,
Well,
let's
they're
get it
both
going,
very good
baby.
bills. I'll say that.
Blake, I'd have to say, I'm just going to start off saying Blake did a great job. I was, so proud of him. I mean, he's done a great job in the House, and he went to the Senate. I mean, I am happy as I can be with the bill that we got passed, the constitutional carry bill. It's probably one of the best five in the United States, if not the best, one of the cleanest. It's at 18 years of age. I was very passionate about that, where my granddaughters can actually put a pistol in their purse and protect themselves from murderers and rapists and tyrants. And and Blake did a wonderful job. I'm as happy as I can be, and I tell you what, Blake's a young man. He's got a great future ahead of us. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't a congressman or a governor one day. He's got a great future ahead of him.
So we had the benefit of, and it wasn't a great thing in the past. You know, our bill got vetoed in 21, and we thought we were going to be the 21st state. We ended up being the 28th state. But the benefit out of that was got an opportunity to see what happened in other states and some of their pitfalls. And one of the biggest pitfalls they had in some of the other states were they passed a bill that was at age 21, and those bills were challenged in the federal court system and found in Texas, Tennessee, and Minnesota to be unconstitutional based on folks' Second Amendment and their 14th Amendment rights. So when we had this conversation, and look, there's no secret that Jeff Lange and I are very close friends. I supported him vigorously in my campaign, and we started having discussions very early about constitutional carry, the opportunity it would present if he became the governor. So we did a lot of work on the front end, and we had a lot of opportunity to discuss these things with the new administration on let's bring a bill that people can be proud of, that can pass the scrutiny of the courts, where we don't have to spend a lot of money fighting this thing in the court system. And that's why you're able to see the bill come out very early in the process in a very clean form. I think we had some initial amendments on the bills to kind of clean up some of the different aspects. We made sure we had all the safeguards in place for concealed carry, so people could know exactly where they could and couldn't carry a firearm. And we never want to make a criminal out of law-abiding citizens. We want to make sure our laws are very clean and consistent. And look, it did happen very quickly, but remember, we stopped in the Jude C committee, we stopped in the Rev and Fisk committee, we went to the Senate floor, we went to criminal justice, we went to the House floor, and we fended off nearly a dozen anti-gun, very poison pill type amendments, and we fended them off in a very conservative manner where we explained exactly where we were on these issues. And we were able to cite the law. And look, the concerns after the concerns about it's going to turn into the Wild Wild West, or you're going to carry a gun in this area, it all ended up being just fluff. And it was just a lot from the left just complaining because, wow, think of the concept. Wow, how crazy would it be for law-abiding citizens to have guns on themselves, defend themselves? All the criminals have them right now. So the only thing different now is the law-abiding citizens will have an opportunity to defend themselves and loved ones. That's the concept of the Second Amendment. It's our God-given natural right. If you read the Declaration of Independence and how the Supreme Court has interpreted the Second Amendment, and why not? We're trying to fight crime here in Louisiana. It's running rampant. The governor asked for practical solutions. So our practical solutions will put law-abiding citizens on an equal playing field as the violent criminals who are victimizing the innocent people of Louisiana.
So let me ask you something, because historically in the bills that have gone through in the past, and some of them were, Danny's bills too, did the Louisiana Sheriff's Association, or what is it, not the Fraternal Order of Police, the one that's the Police Chiefs Association, did they try to fight the bill any this time?
Well, we had law enforcement. We had the Fraternal Order of Police was definitely against the bill, and the New Orleans PD. Imagine that, right?
Yeah.
But when you looked at the Sheriff's Association, the Louisiana State Troopers Association, they had no position on the bill. And you want to know why they had no position? Because throughout the years of having these discussions about constitutional carry, each individual sheriff got to look at it, and a majority of them actually liked the bill, and they couldn't come to a common agreement to oppose the bill. That's why they were of no position. And then we actually had a law enforcement group, and I can't think of the name right off, that's an association very similar to the Fraternal Order of Police Officers, mainly out of the Acadiana area, come out and support the bill. So the whole idea that law enforcement is against this bill is absurd. Are there law enforcement officers out there against it? Absolutely. They have concerns. But there's a lot of sheriffs across this great state that support constitutional carry, and they understand that giving citizens their rights of self-defense, defend themselves and their loved ones, is a great thing, and it helps deter crime. Because what better reason to deter crime than those not knowing who has the gun? Think about it. It's not just the big stout cowboy like Representative McCormick that walks in. You say that guy's definitely on. It could be a single mother. It could be granny. You don't know. You don't know who. If you try to victimize one of our law-abiding constituents, you just might be staring down the barrel of a .38 special, because those citizens have a right to defend themselves, and it really does a great job at deterring crime. And our governor sent a very clear message: if you're in the crime business, you don't belong in Louisiana, or we're going to put you in jail.
I agree. So let me
Now,
ask, or
guys,
go ahead, Duke.
well, I was just going to real simple. I mean, and it's segueing off of what Blake said, and Danny chime in here. But I got to tell y'all, I think this couldn't have come at a more consequential time, because what we're seeing coming across the border and what we're seeing, I mean, uh, like the young lady in Georgia, what was her name? Laken Riley, was that her name? I mean, guys, that could be any day here in any of our towns in Louisiana. I mean, we need our folks to be armed.
And I hate
You
to
bet.
say it,
You know,
but
I can just imagine right now a young girl, 100-pound girl, walking out of the mall, and she's walking to her car, and she's got her hand in her purse, and somebody that approaches her now doesn't know she may have her finger on that trigger of a pistol in their purse and may be willing to defend herself. You know, look somebody in the eye with confidence. So, yeah, you know, nothing puts a fear in a criminal than an armed victim. You know, they aren't victims anymore, and I think this is like Senator Miguez says. I think this is a great opportunity. Governor Landry, you know, set the stage for this, and let's not forget too, and let the audience know that he put this was a special session, and he put that in the call specifically to be passed. So that was exciting. You know, I think something we've done through the years, and me and Blake and several other members have done by continuing to push this bill is we've educated a lot of the senators and state reps that were scared of this at first, but after they get educated on the subject, you know, and it just they understand the statistics are in their favor. So, and once you realize that open carry has been legal in Louisiana ever since Louisiana was a state, you know, there's even some situations where a 16-year-old can open carry with a note from their parents, and you know, so people have done very good using the rights responsibly up to this point.
So
and Duke, I wish that the story you told was only for other states. But if you do your research, you're going to find that illegal immigrants coming across the border did some heinous crimes just in our backyard here in Louisiana. So our citizens need the right to defend themselves. And we got to look at closing our border, and we also have to look at some of our policies here locally in Louisiana. Just a little prelude, I have filed a bill to ban sanctuary cities in Louisiana. That does not belong here in our state, and we need to protect our citizens and make sure our laws are enforced and our immigration laws are enforced.
Well, I want to segue a little bit off of what Danny said, because I've been on my soapbox that technically the bill for constitutional carry, permitless carry, or whatever is removing prior restrictions that have been placed on us by the state. All right, because the reason we can open carry isn't because there's a law that says we can open carry. It's because there's no law that restricts us from it. And I'll give you an example. Let's go down history lane for just a second. Are any of you aware who the first two states to ban concealed carry were and when it happened?
I would imagine.
This is a test.
I would take a guess. I don't know, but I would guess one of them was California.
No. The first two states to ban concealed carry were Louisiana and, let me see, I think the other one was Kentucky in 1813.
Wow.
In 1813, Acts 172 was an act against carrying concealed weapons signed by the governor. And it says, and I quote, being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the state of Louisiana and General Assembly convened that from and after the passage of this act, any person who shall be found with any concealed weapon, such as dirk, dagger, knife, pistol, or any other deadly weapon concealed in his bosom, coat, or any other place about him that do not appear in full open view, any person so offending shall be on conviction thereof before any justice of the peace be subject to pay a fine. 1813 is when the state restricted our right to carry concealed. And you have just undone that, which I think is a great thing.
It definitely is a historic moment, but look at the recent Brewing case in the Supreme Court. they have ruled that not only do we have the right to defend ourselves out in the public sphere, but when you're looking at whether a gun control law is constitutional, you have to look at the historic context of the Second Amendment. And it's pretty clear. It says we have a right to bear arms and it shall not be infringed. And my perspective is that our citizens always had these rights because it was given to them by God. It's a natural self-defense right. We talked about it earlier through our Declaration of Independence. And the Constitution protected these rights. And it was taken away from our citizens. And all we did in the legislature just recently was give those rights back to our citizens. Their natural right of self-defense to protect themselves and, even more importantly, their families.
Yeah, so I want to be clear that up until the 1813 acts, it was considered proper to actually carry concealed or open however you wanted, from the colony days. It wasn't until 1813 that they started enacting that, and then several other states started following suit, specifically around the Civil War era, because they were worried about the freed slaves carrying concealed then, and so many other states jumped on the bandwagon. But I just want everybody to realize how long the state of Louisiana has been restricting our rights, which they did not before 1813.
Now, you guys, Blake, you were starting to talk about a little bit coming up into the next session. Now, obviously, there was a minority of opposition, against us turning the page here. Now, y'all did this in the special session. Great that Governor Landry called that special session and got this ball rolling. Now, I have heard some criticism, and I'm not criticizing, but I'm just telling you some of the things I've heard, some negatives. I mean, I know I saw a little bit of debate, Blake, that you've been having with some of your cohorts that didn't agree with this, and they were talking about that we believe it's our God-given right. And, while I think that's kind of funny, I think they truly believe that we're kooks for thinking it's a God-given right. I'll get both of y'all to comment on that, but there's a lot of people saying that a lot of the legislation that, was passed in the special session are not going, it's going to strap the parishes, and we're going to have, the parishes are going to have a hard time enforcing some of this. And we're also going to end up, making a ton of people stay in jail a ton longer. And we're basically going to turn Louisiana into a police state. I mean, I'm wondering what both of you guys who are in the trenches dealing with all of this legislation, what is y'all's thoughts to those kind of things?
Well, Rick, Duke, first of all, there's nothing wrong with being American and standing up and defending our Constitution and loving our country and understanding exactly the bedrock principles which our country was created. And yes, we do have God-given rights. And yes, they are protected by the Constitution. And we are living the greatest country in the entire world. Now, all I heard during the session, and more particularly, and Representative McCormick could probably testify more to this, is a lot of complaining in the House from the minority and a lot of complaining from those on the left. Just pessimists. They don't want to change. They're satisfied with Louisiana apparently being 50th and everything and having a rampant crime problem where now it seems like cars in New Orleans steal themselves and carjack themselves, if you read the newspaper. But look, this session was about victims. We didn't ask the criminals what they thought. We worried about victims and victims' rights. And you ask yourself, well, how much is these bills going to cost us? Well, I ask you a question. How much does it cost the businesses? How much does it cost Louisiana's future? How much does the out-migration problem cost Louisiana because crime is driving good businesses and good people out of the state? Now, what about a victim? Well, when someone is victimized, they should have a right to know and be transparent and know exactly where the process is for the person, the criminal, and that's going through the court process, and know exactly where their court case is, to know exactly with truth and sentence and how many years they're going to sentence. This whole idea about giving a sentence of 20 years and letting them out in 5 is ridiculous. And then that victim has to walk across in a grocery store and see their perpetrator one day. And that's just not right. So we're going to rely on our judges. They have discretion to apply the appropriate amount of sentencing to these criminals. And whatever that may be, let's call it 10 years, they're going to serve 8.5 of those years. If they're good, they'll serve 8.5. If they don't act right, they're going to serve the full 10. But we're going to look at the federal system where if you want to diminish your sentence and you want to do everything right, you can only diminish it down to 15%. Then we're going to focus on making sure these people can reintegrate back into society. They can get jobs. They can get a skill set, and then we can foster them back into society and be a productive member again. But what the governor did was he just basically said he's tired of the crime problem, and we're going to address it head on. And we're not going to be afraid to hurt criminals' feelings, and we're going to put victims first. And that's exactly what this legislature did.
Amen.
Danny?
You know, a good point there too is Duke, when Blake's bill come through the House, it actually got the vote of 5 Democrats, so it was bipartisan. I think where you see with going to see a lot of the Democrats that represent the rural areas are going to be more in favor of these type laws. And you know, not only did the governor pass the laws to crack down on criminals, but he also put programs into place to help nonviolent drug offenders also, which is, you know, something important to look at these two groups as, you know, nonviolent and violent. Those are two distinct different groups. And the rougher sentences were given to the violent criminals. That's the ones we're really concerned about, or the ones that are threatening our life and our family's life. So, you know, that's what it was concentrated on, the bad guys. You know, I've always said that, you know, that's the primary source, or the primary uh, thing that law enforcement needs to do, is protect our rights, and the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's what we're cracking down on, is the violent criminals, and that's the ones that we should be cracking down on. Now we took 17-year-olds, and in some situations they will be treated as adults, and you know, I don't have a problem with that. I fully supported that. You know, like I said, I think that we should expect a lot of our young men and women. I think they have the right to keep and bear arms concealed at 18 years of age. So, you know, I don't have a problem with bringing those age limits down for people that commit crimes.
Well, let me play devil's advocate for a second here, and I'll throw this to Blake first, and then Danny, if you want to chime in. So, what would you say to the people? You know, because you hear this claim from the left all the time, and you know the ones that want to make sure the criminals are going to be okay. What would you say to the people that talk about the number of criminals or number of people that we have in jail in the state of Louisiana? You know, the statistics are we're basically one of the leading states with the number of people in our jail system. What would you say to that in response to that, Blake?
Well, Rex, I go back to earlier what I told you. We're bringing transparency to the system. We're not saying that we're putting nonviolent felons in jail longer. We're saying that we're going to deter crime because we're going to let them know exactly how much time they're going to spend. So it's going to be up to the judges to decide. So, but give them a 20-year sentence and let them serve 5. Well, they're going to give them an 8-year sentence and they'll serve the same 5, and that's what they want to do, and the judge decides that. But at least they'll know exactly how much time they're going to be in there. Now, with dealing with violent criminals, if you're carjacking someone and conducting serious bodily injury, if you're dealing fentanyl to people, especially our children, we're going to put you in jail for a very long time. And to be honest with you, Rex and Duke, I don't care how much it costs, because those people belong to be in jail because they're murderers and they are tearing away at the fabric of society. Like Representative McCormick said, we're going to focus more on the people that actually can be rehabilitated and brought back into society. So the whole idea from the left that this is going to cost more and people are going to stay in jail longer, yeah, the real bad ones are going to stay in jail longer, but the ones that we can actually rehabilitate and get a job skill, I think you're going to see that the judges will embrace this new criminal justice, this new criminal session that we put forward in our new justice system, and they're going to adapt and they're going to make sure their sentences are perfectly measured for the new policies that were put in place. And I don't think it's going to cost much more than it did before. That's just the left worried about everything. They're just trying to find something wrong with us trying to change the status quo here in Louisiana. And you're going to see it a lot over the next 4 years on everything we deal with, from education to job development to lowering your insurance rates, to maybe doing the tax reform, spending reform, looking at our Constitution. They're going to kick and scream the whole way. But we're going to blink our eyes 10 years from now, and we're no longer going to be number 50th. We're going to be moving up in the ranks. We're going to start seeing in Louisiana where our children are not moving away. And we're going to have surplus dollars because our economy is going to be doing better. And they're going to be the first ones at the table wanting to know where to spend those dollars right along with Republicans. And they'll be cheering us all the way along. I saw it in North Carolina. I saw it in other states. What we're doing here in Louisiana under the last governor did not work. What do we have to lose? Let's try something different. Let's trust Governor Landry. Let's trust that the voters put him in office to do a job. And I can tell you that he's working vigorously. I've never seen a governor move his feet so fast and be so bold and want to put so many reforms in place so quickly because he loves this state this much and he wants to see our children have a brighter future.
I agree. Danny, got any feedback to add to that about, we're keeping criminals or too many criminals in jail?
Yeah, I actually do. And there's lots of truth to that. We have, the United States, in prisons more people per capita than any other nation. And Louisiana is either the highest state or one of the highest states. I think it's the simple fact too. You have to look at we have a huge out migration problem, and I don't think it's our criminals that are out migrating. So I think that's what throws us into throws our percentage out of whack. It's because we're losing our law-abiding working citizens are moving out of the state, and you've got to be able to. People need to feel safe. New Orleans. I tell my constituents I'm about as far as from New Orleans as anybody can get. But New Orleans is important. New Orleans is such a big hub in Louisiana that the way Jeff is planning on moving in there and taking control of that situation, I say Jeff, I should say Governor Landry, is something that's got to happen. New Orleans has to be returned to a safe city. Not to mention Shreveport, Monroe, Baton Rouge, but New Orleans even is important to Shreveport and to Caddo Bossier. That place has got to be brought in control, and he's got a hold on that group down there, and they're ready to work with him.
So someone messaged me and said, that liberal DAs, have a habit of reducing the charges, for plea deals to nonviolent status from violent status to get convictions or whatever. And, what would y'all say to that? Was there anything in the legislation that'll limit a liberal DA from being able to lower charges from, say, a violent to a nonviolent?
Well, the biggest issue, Duke, that you had with that was in New Orleans, right? I mean, that's pretty much a perfect example over there. It got so bad that even the district attorney himself, I believe, got carjacked. So, this goes to show you how bad the situation was in New Orleans. And I think there's legislation that the governor or the legislature has in their back pocket that could really shake up the district attorneys. But I think the district attorneys saw that coming. And you saw a perfect example just with the governor's leadership voluntarily. You saw the district attorney in New Orleans offer up to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the attorney general for the state troopers that we're sending into New Orleans. If they arrest someone and they investigate a crime, the attorney general voluntarily, because the district attorney in New Orleans gave her that power, can prosecute those criminals. So I think they're seeing the writing on the wall that if district attorneys don't start doing their job, and I'm not talking bad about all district attorneys because there's a lot of great ones across the state, but some of those liberal DAs that were put into office, maybe by George Soros funded, and those guys better get with the program and start doing their job, because if they don't, the legislature and the governor is going to come in there, and we have legislation that we can pass that they have passed in other states that can give our attorney general the authority to come in and start prosecuting on their behalf. And I think they don't want that. I think they like their autonomy. They like the powers that they have. And I think to avoid that, I think that they've negotiated to start doing their job or to start letting the attorney general come in voluntarily and start prosecuting some of these cases.
That's interesting. So I want to circle back to use one of the phrases that one of our viewers loves for us to use. I want to circle back, though, to the constitutional carry or permitless carry bill for a second, because I want to clarify before we get too far off that subject some things. And I read the bill, so I'm pretty sure I understand it, but I want to make sure the viewers do as well. What is the legal age restriction for carrying, open or concealed, in the state of Louisiana after enactment of this bill, Senator Miguez?
If you want to carry constitutionally concealed, it's 18 and older. The concealed carry permit law is 21 and older to get a permit. And to open carry, I'll have to go research this one. It's somewhere between 16 or 17 years old if you have some type of letter or approval from your parent. I can't remember which one it is, but that's, you kind of get the picture with that.
Yeah, I think Danny's correct. It is 17, I think, but we both need to double check on that. All right. Does the permitless carrier, go ahead, Danny.
One other thing to bring into to comment on that too, Rex, is concealed carry with a permit is 21, and the reason that lots of the gun groups want to keep it that way is because at 21 we have reciprocity with so many other states. So that's something that they don't want to lose. Now, hopefully at some point in time that we'll have court cases that we can bring. Everybody have to bring it down to 18, but until that happens, we'll have reciprocity with other states. And correct me if I'm wrong, Senator Miguez, but isn't your bill also that even people that come into Louisiana from out of state can? I believe that's how I remember the bill.
Yeah.
That any law-abiding citizen, Louisiana citizen, or from other states.
Yeah, it's all law-abiding American citizens can carry constitutionally in Louisiana, and I believe there's around 31 other states that have the same laws. Maybe just one of those only allows their residents. So when you're talking about reciprocity and concealed carry permits, you're probably only talking about a difference of around 10 to 12 states that you get the additional benefit for having a concealed carry permit. But if you'd allow me to spend a little time and tell you about the benefits of a concealed carry permit in SB2, and a lot of people forgot that we passed a second instrument that really did some great things as well, is that if you get a concealed carry permit, the benefits currently in the law are you get reciprocity with these other states, and that's about 12 extra states on top of the 31 that have constitutional carry. If you have the 5-year permit, you also get the opportunity to go through a quick background check when you purchase a firearm from a federal firearms licensed dealer. And then there's SB2, which I brought, which is a bill that sort of supported SB1. And it passed and was signed by the governor. And what that bill says is that if you have a permit and you have to unfortunately use your firearm for self-defense justifiably in a reasonable manner, and you are not in the commission of a violent crime like a felony, and you are not your acts didn't constitute an intentional act of misconduct or gross negligence, you get civil immunity from a lawsuit from the perpetrator who is trying to terrorize you or conduct a violent crime or threaten you and your family's life. And that's huge. We're one of the first states to have that in statute and not just part of our jurisprudence, which is used as an affirmative defense of self-defense in civil suits. The difference is by having it in statute, it's a lot less attorney fees for an innocent person who's defending themselves to defend the civil suit against a bad guy. They will be able to get out very early in the proceedings instead of getting dragged through court for years and years and going broke over attorney fees just to prove that they were acting in pure self-defense. We're talking about civil court after they've completely been exonerated from the criminal proceedings, and it's just nonsense. And our law-abiding citizens shouldn't have to go through that to defend themselves in those types of situations.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up that point, because one of my questions was going to be about the advantages of the concealed carry permit and then how that relates to I think it's Louisiana 1419, the use of force statute. And I'm glad you mentioned the civil thing, because a lot of people don't realize or may not realize that just because you pass muster with the DA and a good shoot, well, you still have the civil lawsuit potential, and there are like insurance policies and all sorts of things out there that different groups have available for that. So very interesting, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I really hadn't paid attention to SB2.
And the whole idea with that was there was some political strategy there. What we wanted to do was, the biggest argument was, and someone that forgets about the Constitution for a moment, how important it is, and they start thinking from a practical sense, well, why aren't you doing training requirements? Well, there's a reason we're not doing it. It's because we respect the Second Amendment. And we believe that government shouldn't put up these barriers in between you and your right to exercise your Second Amendment rights to conceal carry. But at the same time, as a gun owner, myself a competitive shooter, as people of the gun industry, Second Amendment advocates, we have to do everything in our power to encourage and incentivize safety training. I think people should voluntarily, keyword voluntarily, go out there and get safety training and learn how to use their firearm and learn the law. And I think SB2 was a way that we can incentivize individuals to go out and get their permit and get their training, and, have the benefit of the reciprocity, but not require, because it's not government's place to require you to jump through a bunch of hoops to exercise your constitutional fundamental rights.
Are you running for governor after Jeff's through in office, or what's the deal? Because like the spiel you just gave, I'd absolutely vote for you right now.
Well, I appreciate the support. I don't know what's in my future. I'm just trying to be a good senator right now. I'm following God's path. I want to serve my country. I want to serve my state. I want to serve my community. And I'll be around as long as the people have me. And Rex, if they send me home, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend a lot more time shooting my guns in the shooting range, competing, supporting good conservatives, spending time with my family, worshiping the Lord, and just being a good citizen. That's all we can do in this country and this state.
Amen,
So
brothers.
I'm going to put y'all both. I'm going to put y'all both on the spot. Danny, I want to know: are we going to have these stinking inspection stickers on our car at the end of the regular session?
I don't. It won't be because I didn't vote to do away with them. I can guarantee you that. And I know. I believe I've heard some people that bringing the bills to do away with them. But I'm going to add a couple of things there to Blake's comments. A couple of things you need to know is Blake has been passing good gun legislation for the last 4 years. So this isn't nothing new to him. There's other bills that he's passed that I'm sure y'all are familiar with. But another important point to bring out too is a couple of years ago we flew in John Lott. I believe that's his first name. I know I got the last name right.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a lot of research on gun laws and the effects of them across the state. I mean, across the different states. And what they found out is when a state actually makes a constitutional carry legal, in the first first few months or first few years, the permits start falling off, and then when people get used to carrying their weapons concealed and find out they have more advantages to carrying concealed with a permit, the permit process actually ticks up. So that's what he testified in committee, that we should actually, after initial downturn in permits, we also actually see the permit process start going up, which and what we've got to have to keep the Second Amendment live in this country is people that own and carry weapons, law-abiding citizens. So that's important. I mean, it's like any sport or any activity. The more people that partake in it, the more likely you are to preserve it for the long period of time, because they're educated on the subject. They understand it. They're not scared of their weapons. So I think it's another good advantage moving forward.
So let me follow up then, Danny. So I think I heard y'all at the beginning say that one of the issues previously was requiring the 21-year-old requirement on the bill. Now, correct me where I'm wrong here, Danny. And I agree with it being 18. I never agreed with it actually being 21. But what do you think was the reason? Because I know you put several bills forward and all that. What do you think was the reason that we weren't able to get it passed then, and we were so quickly now? Was it strictly because we've got a new governor sitting in the governor's mansion?
I think it's that, and I think it's the statement Blake made, that the lawsuits that have happened across the country, and also I think it's just the education of the people. Actually, Mr. Lott actually testified in committee that, from statistically speaking, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds aren't any more likely to do something negative with their weapon than any other group. So I think it's all the different factors, and having the right governor. I mean, that's how it changed the whole atmosphere in Louisiana. So that's extremely important. But several different reasons. Those that I mentioned is I believe the key to that.
All right, Blake, did you have something else to add, or Duke?
That's pretty much it. The governor it's like pulling teeth with the last governor, and I don't think he wasn't good with 18. We thought he might go with 21. He didn't take the 21 deal, and at the end of the day, we ended up getting a watered down version of just basically military and veteran carry, and that's the only thing that he could go for, which is nowhere near the constitutional carry we were looking for. So that was the main reason. I think the biggest thing is that you saw these different lawsuits in federal court across the nation. The one in Texas and Tennessee have been fully adjudicated. The one in Minnesota is still going up to the appeals court. But what these courts are doing they're actually enjoining the state law and saying that you may only want to give these rights to 21 and older, but we're going to force you based on the Second and the 14th Amendment to allow 18, 19, and 20-year-olds these same rights. And I mean, think about the common sense behind that. If you're old enough to get drafted or to join the military and go off to war and fight for this great nation, then you're also old enough to own a firearm back home to protect your family that you fought so vigorously for your nation, to protect your freedoms and to have your family in safeguard. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. It's a constitutional right that these 18-year-olds should enjoy because they're adults. And look, if they decide to take the wrong path and they're no longer law-abiding citizens and they're prohibited under federal or state law from possessing a firearm, they lose those rights just like everyone else. So they have families too. They go off to war and fight for our country. They should be able to carry a firearm just like those who are 21 years and older.
I agree.
Yeah, you got that right. Well, we won't keep y'all all night, but I will say, I'm glad that we were able to get this over the line, and y'all did a wonderful job. I thank y'all for fighting for this forever, because I can tell you, like here in Northwest Louisiana, Blake, you may not be familiar, but in Shreveport, we've got a sheriff's race going on up here, and we have a DA backing a former law enforcement officer that blows my mind, that's advocating for, felons to go out and vote and support him in a race for sheriff. And that, oh, by the way, if he's elected, he's going to fix the jail problem like at the snap of a finger within a week or so. So, some of what we've talked about in the show is things that it don't apply just to New Orleans. It applies heavily to Shreveport, which, we live right beside, and I could very easily see that spilling over into Bossier real quick. So anyway, I just needed to get that out there.
Well, Duke, remember the 2021 FBI statistics. It showed that 3 of Louisiana's major cities were the 10 most dangerous in the country. It's easy. Yeah, I know New Orleans is one of those. Can you guess who the other 2 were?
Pretty close to us up here. I know that for a fact.
One was Shreveport.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
So obviously we have a crime problem. Obviously we got to get this under control. And I just commend the governor for following through on his campaign promise, bringing us in within the first 45 days of his first term. He was able to pass sweeping crime bills. He passed every single crime bill. How amazing is that? Now we go into a regular session. Now we get to focus on things like education, job creation, lowering our insurance rates. You might see us have a constitutional convention this year. We'll have a vigorous presidential election later in the year. And then we go into a fiscal year the following year where we can actually do some great spending and tax reforms that are going to put our state in the right path to creating jobs and stopping that out-migration problem that Representative McCormick was talking about, because it's a serious problem. And I'll leave you with this, Duke and Rex. We had, in 2022, I think we had 1.4 million people that moved to the South. And they were fleeing places like California and New York and Illinois and all these left-leaning states. And at the same time, Louisiana lost 42,000 people. So people want to live in the South, but where were they going? By the tune of 700,000 to Texas or 200,000 to Florida, because they have great economies, because they got great leadership, Republican leadership. They actually have leadership that's conservative, that reflects their constituency. But I tell you what, Louisiana might be lagging behind, but that's exactly what we have now. The people spoke loud and clear. They elected Jeff Landry in the first round overwhelmingly. That's a mandate. They elected senators like myself who are conservative, that were going up against establishment-type candidates across this state. They did that in the House of Representatives as well. We hold a supermajority, overwhelmingly, in both chambers. We have one of the most conservative governors I've ever seen on the fourth floor. Now is the time to act, and we're not going to waste any time. And I don't want to be criticized for working too much. I don't want to be criticized for working too quickly. We got to make up for lost time. We owe it to our children. We owe it to the future of this state. We got to get Louisiana back on track because our kids and our grandkids deserve to have prosperity. And as long as I'm in office, and I think Representative McCormick can tell you the same, we're going to work every day to make sure that happens. And we're going to work with this new governor, and we're going to trust him. And we're going to drown out all the negativity from the left and all the complaining. And we're going to do the right thing for our future. And I'm just excited to be on the offensive team and not playing defense like we did the last 8 years. And I'm just excited and optimistic about the great things that we can do for our state.
Danny, you're up.
That's a great job, Blake. I can't add much to that. That was great. I am bringing a Second Amendment Preservation Act. Basically, it's going to try to start getting out in front of the federal overreach coming into the states. Basically, not allowing local officials to enforce unconstitutional federal laws. I think that's our next step. Like any bill, when you start through this process, it's probably going to be a period of years when you want to work on this legislation and make it better and better. It's been run in other states though, so we're benefiting from their experience. So I think we just got to keep moving the ball forward. Like Blake said, we got to keep punching it down the conservative line, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be part of the process, and very excited to have Governor Landry in the governor's mansion in Baton Rouge.
I have
Amen
one
to
thing to
that.
add to that, Rex, if you don't mind. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to work with Representative McCormick on this. I'm going to let him focus on that state issue, and I'm going to worry about a federal issue. So he's going to work on the state side, and I'm going to worry about the federal overreach. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump this fall and really change this country and put it back.
There you go. See, I love having you guys on because we are so like-minded that it's just great. It's fun to have y'all on. All right.
Well,
anything else, Duke?
Well, I think we need to let these guys run along because I know they're dying to get over there to see our president or whatever you want to call him. He's not my president is Donald Trump, but not the imposter that's given the State of the Union. But I know these guys want to go listen to what he has to say.
Yeah.
Well, Duke, the good thing about him giving the speeches, I heard there's going to be an intermission and they're going to take about 2 or 3 bathroom breaks. So you'll have a lot of time to get your popcorn out because it's going to take a little while to get through his speech.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, anytime y'all, either one of you wants to come on the show or whatever, or have anything to share with us, just let us know. Always glad to have you guys on.
Good job.
Keep up.
Thank you so much for having me.
Keep up the good work, guys.
It. God bless the great state of Louisiana.
Amen.
Thank you.
Well, all right. Let me switch back over to Duke here. Let's see. That's not Duke. There's Duke.
You can keep Danny.
I tell you, look, they keep talking Second Amendment stuff. I can stay on the show all they want. We'll call
I quit.
The Danny and Blake
Danny.
show. Yeah. All right. Well, I have to say, as you know, I am a Second Amendment guy. That is my one key issue. And I know you're a absolute staunch supporter. We view that 100% in agreement.
No doubt.
But I got to say, that is one of the best discussions, most positive discussions, I think we've had on either Louisiana Watch or Bossier Watch, for that matter, in a long time.
Well, people need to know, the people of Louisiana need to know that those two guys right there combined have been the biggest advocates for gun rights. Those guys they're the champions right there. That's the two, hands down. And
absolutely.
I thought it was going to be cool to get both of them on at the same time, because they've both been fighting for the same thing for, quite a while. And finally, with a good governor, we were able to prevail on that issue.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Danny's been fighting it for a long time. And look, I'll even give a little bit of a shout out to Ryan Gaddy, who was in the comments. I think he may still be watching the show. I don't know. He had put forward a bill a while back and had tried to move some legislation forward. And of course, Danny took the ball and was running with it. And, Blake basically got the ball and scored the touchdown. And we're all the beneficiaries of that. We have removed restrictions that have been in place in the state of Louisiana since what year did I say? 1813. They have accomplished something that is phenomenal and has given us back those rights that were taken from us so long ago.
You know, I had no idea the Wayback Machine went that far back. I just had,
It
I
did.
didn't know.
Let me show you something here. Hold on just a second. I want to show you how much of an overachiever I was this afternoon after I got back from the lake. This is, let me see if I can do this here. Hold on. I've got a copy of the actual bill. Hold on. Let me get my little clicky and draggy to drag over here. This is the actual bill that was passed in 1813, a copy of it.
Well, I don't see nothing but our happy faces right there. And I'm
well,
sure
okay.
Oh,
let's try that.
There we go.
Let's try that. That is a copy of the actual bill from 1813. Hold on, let me put up page 2. And you can, what's amazing is you can even see over on the right side, it's actually, there was another bill passed that was actually in French. But you can see right here, I know it's a little hard to read, a little small, and for those of you that are listening, you can't see it, but on the left side is Act 172 that was passed, that I read the synopsis or summary of it, but that's actually the bill. Most people don't realize how long that has been in effect, how long our rights have been restricted.
I had no idea. I'd never heard of it until you said it tonight. But I obviously was in good company because nobody else had heard it either.
All right. Do we have anything else that we want to discuss this evening?
Well, I tell you what, I just wanted to kind of tell everybody about next week's show. Next Thursday, we've got a guest tentatively lined up to come on, and it is Lisa Massengill from the Caddo Mama Bears. And so if you're, and I may have not spelled or pronounced her name correctly. I think I did, but I'm not 100% of I did. But Lisa on there, I think she's been, they've got this campaign going on for sheriff over there, and there's a lot of barbs being thrown, and the social media war is ongoing with the Whitehorn camp and all. And it's gotten pretty, I mean, the Caddo Mama Bears has been kind of at the forefront of that fight. And, there's been a lot of accusations thrown out there. And I think Miss Lisa is going to come on, and she's going to enlighten us and everyone to maybe, some of the accusations, some of the situation. Maybe she's going to, because I got to tell you, and this maybe not her, but I want to ask her about it. I mean, some of the stuff out there has been, in my opinion, threats. There's been threatening language, towards people. And I think that's way over the top. And I want to hear a little bit more about all this, because, there's some things that seem very unethical going on over there, and it warrants discussion.
Yeah, that sounds like a sure enough soap opera going on over there across the river. And I think it sounds like she'll be an interesting conversation and interesting guest to have on. Very, very good, Mr. Lowry. You're doing the overachiever mode and getting guests lined up for the show.
Whoo! Don't give me no credit. It is what it is. But anyway, hey, great interview tonight. Thanks, Danny and Blake and Rex. Good job as usual with that tech expertise of yours.
Well, and look, like you said, we want to give full credit to State Senator Blake Miguez and State Rep Danny McCormick and everybody else that signed on to SB 1, and which is now going to be law as of July the 4th. The governor's already signed it. Want to give them all full credit for getting that passed, as well as the other bills, the crime bill and everything else, because it's like it was a whirlwind down there. So full credit to them, and we'll just try to keep on every Thursday night. Join us Tuesday nights for Bossier Watch at 7 p.m., which we're trying to keep obviously more Bossier-centric. But on Thursday nights here, we're trying to have as many guests as possible and make the content as interesting and keep the show to around an hour, maybe an hour and a half, sometime in that time frame. But anyway,
Yeah, and if you're new to the show, help us get some folks watching. We're going to try to share content that is applicable across the state of Louisiana. So, if you're in South Louisiana, help a brother out. Share Louisiana Watch to some friends. There may be some content that they're interested in, and we appreciate all of y'all watching tonight.
Yeah, and one other thing as we close out here, if you got some information that you want to share to us, Louisiana Watch or LA Watch at protonmail.com. Make a free Proton Mail account yourself. Don't put any identifying information in. Also want to address, there was a comment earlier that does SB1 and the recent act for the permitless or constitutional carry affect any of the current gun-free zones? It doesn't change any of that. So all those gun-free zones still apply, as well as the ability to carry basically what we call the castle doctrine in your truck, or vehicle. That still applies. So I want to address that. They've changed none of that. All right. Anyway, so I want to get that point across. Good show, Mr. Lowry. Glad you were able to get in here and slide in at the last minute. I was just about to sign the hiring paperwork on Mr. McCormick. And you made it. So
don't give me no ideas. I may hire him myself.
Exactly. All right. So same time next week, and Tuesday night, join us on Bossier Watch if you're around. How about that?
Good night.
We're out.